Hi, folks, and welcome to Blind Luck, the search for Harry Greb. That's right, Harry Greb, the greatest middleweight boxer of all time. And we believe, many around the world believe, the greatest boxer of all time, even surpassing the great Sugar Ray Robinson. Now, how can we prove that? Well, his resume is unbelievable and certainly the number one resume in all of boxing. And as we continue to look for his missing fight films, could you imagine if we actually found his missing fight films to prove all this? It would be absolutely incredible. And the great thing about a story like this is that we're not the only ones that are just entrenched in this treasure hunt. As soon as we started this a couple years ago, the idea to put a show together to introduce the world once again to the great Harry Greb, little did we know the millions of people around the world that know more about the sport and know more about Harry Greb than we would ever know, and the love of trying to get this story out. And this is what this show is all about. And there's people around the world, like we said, that have been following us in a short amount of time. And today's guest is one of those because we are just so delighted to be able to spread the word of the great Harry Greb from Canada. But this is a man from Pittsburgh, the legend, the windmill. And it's important that we try our best to do as much research about the Pittsburgh area. Since we're from Canada, we did as much research as we can, and we came up with several animations to try our best to get the language down. And this is what we came up with. See what you think.
In 3, 2, and cut. That's a wrap. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow. Do I know you? Wait. You look really familiar. Pal, you know me and yet. Come on, spell your last name backwards. What? Why? My name? Yeah, spell it backwards. G-R-E-P. Oh my goodness, you're... Yeah, pal, Ian's, I got a story for you. By the way, how did you get in here? Call it blind luck, pal. Blind luck.
Well, there you go. Because we did the research and we tried to find out people like Peter Berg, the Hollywood director, that were interested in a story like this, a great American hero, sort of lost in history. But the other thing that we tried to do was get that accent down. Now, we didn't do a perfect job, but we did a bit of research and we realized, and we didn't even know beforehand, that there was something called Pittsburghese, which is an accent that's similar to the Boston accent a little bit like the New York accent, I guess. And we tried our best based on research to nail it. Now, did we? Probably not. But it did get people from the Pittsburgh area interested in listening and giving us a little bit of the gears, I guess you would say, and at the same time, advice on the proper way of doing it. So that's why our guest today is so important. Meeting this gentleman online and then learning, hey, here's a guy from Pittsburgh that could teach us a thing or two. That's what all this is all about, teaching new boxing fans about Harry Greb and even old guys like me something about the Pittsburgh area. So welcome, Ross, to the show.
Good morning. How are yins doing in Canada?
Thank you. Yins, yeah, not too bad. And I really have had a joke over the last week or so going back and forth with you regarding the animation that the people just saw with Peter Berg and supposedly Harry Greb's voice. Tell me what I did right and what we did wrong.
It seems a little like more like a New York kind of accent. You know, I think Pittsburgh, it's just different words. Like you say wash, we say wash. You say creek, we say crick. So there's different words that we use. What's another one? Instead of rubber band, we call it a gum band.
Okay.
And if you want to clean your room up, you red it up.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah, there's a few there. I'll have to send you some.
That's awesome. I really appreciate it. We're always learning. We're trying to teach people a little bit about the great Harry Greb and try to compare those people that are boxing fans today, compare the old fighters with the new fighters.
Right.
To be honest, frankly, our point has always been that the old fighters, including Harry Greb and Sugar Ray Robinson, would easily beat the majority of boxers and champions today based on the facts and based on their resumes. And it's part of the debate back and forth. I know that you've been a big history buff when it comes to guys in sports in your Pittsburgh area. Tell us a little bit about how you became a fan and you learned about Harry Greb.
Actually, I was looking at some researching into Rocky Marciano, and then it evolved into the greatest fighters, and then from the greatest fighters, I saw the name Harry Greb. I had no idea who Harry Greb was, and I started looking into it, and then I said he's a Garfield boy. I said he's Pittsburgh, and from there, that really got me interested, and I do a lot of research, newspaper articles, so on and so forth now. But that's how my interest started. And then I found the Facebook page, and the original, I guess, person involved was Terry Shaw, and he super nice guy, and he kind of gave me a lot of information, and I just did a lot of research on my own.
It's a fascinating story when you learn that. Well, we believe the greatest boxer of all time, certainly in almost all historians' top 5. Most people don't really know who he is. Has never heard of him. They've heard of all these other greats in other parts of science. We know of Einstein. We've even heard of Leonardo da Vinci. Was quite a few years before Harry Greb ever lived. So why is it, do you think, that the guy that we say is so great has been lost in history in a lot of ways?
Well, I think a lot of it was Tunney and Dempsey. Well, more Tunney. I think he was like the fair-haired boy. I mean, he's the one that the promoters promoted. He's the one the newspapers promoted, and he was the one that made the big headlines. Harry Greb, I don't think he was liked in New York, and that was the hub of boxing was in New York. And I think he got a lot of negative press there, or didn't get press at all, because they just didn't like him. That was bottom line. Then after he beat Tunney, it was even worse. So I think Harry, I don't know if he slipped through the cracks, because a lot of people do know about him, but he didn't get the press that Tunney and Dempsey got at that time.
That's true, and I think that's part of the reason why he had such an obsession with going after the heavyweight title as well during his time as the middleweight champ. And when he wasn't even given the middleweight champ's attention, Johnny Wilson, he had to go up and weight in order to get to become the greatest. I mean, you have to be the heavyweight champion. It's where all the money was. So yeah, in a lot of ways, that's why Tunney and Dempsey got all that publicity.
Well, it's all about the money. I mean, that's the bottom line. And I read an article. It was an article about Harry Greb that he, I don't know who it was, newspaper or something or other, was putting pressure on him to pay them $3,000 or $4,000 to get the press, to get into the limelight. And Harry refused to do it. So I think Harry kind of clawed his way up. He probably, a lot of people didn't like him, because I don't think he wanted to play ball with him, but regardless, he's still the greatest fighter that ever lived.
And you say that he's the greatest fighter who ever lived. What makes you say that? What makes you say that?
Just his resume. Look at his record. Look at the Hall of Famers that he beat. I mean, this guy was an absolute marvel. And you read a lot of articles about him, his physique, the way he was built, his stamina, his speed. I mean, he was off the charts. He was even today, if he boxed today, he would be off the charts as a boxer.
It was said that he was a very high-level runner, mid-distance runner, and that had a lot to do with his incredible stamina, his ability. They called him the windmill for a reason. Right. And if we can see and believe what we see with Armstrong and how he fought, and if the windmill was even had more punches thrown than Henry Armstrong. That's an
Right. Yeah.
incredible thing. Back in the day, before you had CompuBox counting every punch,
Right. Right.
it would be said that it could be difficult to count how many punches Harry Greb threw in a single round.
I don't think you could probably calculate because he was coming from every direction, and it was just he was just a flurry. It was just a flurry of punches, and I don't think anybody today could really compete with him. I really don't. He wasn't a knockout puncher for sure, but his stamina, his speed, all the attributes that he did have. I mean, he was just as far as I'm concerned, he was the greatest. He was the greatest.
And I'll also defend his punching ability, that he didn't have a lot of knockouts, and I'd say not only, but mainly because he never sat down on his punches. When
Exactly.
he did, he knocked out the person anytime that he needed that knockout. I believe that he always had the opportunity, and he did it when he sat down on his punches. That was something that he rarely did, because that was the best defense that he had, was that kind of
That's right.
odd way of skipping in and out, getting in and out. If boxing fans today can compare Lee Groves, who's one of the best historians in the world for the International Boxing Hall of Fame, he described his Harry Greb style as something like Aaron Pryor,
Okay.
because of the unorthodox way he
That's
approached and he went into his opponent. That being said, Aaron, of course, was a much harder puncher because he did set down on his punches a lot more.
right.
But I find it hard to believe that anyone could compete based on, like you said, not only the resume, but it was not many people over a 12-round or more aptly a 15-round fight could figure him out after 15 rounds. And that includes Sugar Ray Robinson. What do you think about that? If they went head to head, who do you think?
It would be a very, very close fight, but I think I would give Greb the edge, but not by much. Robinson was a phenom. I mean, he was a terrific boxer, and I give it to Harry Greb only by a slight margin, but I think Harry would have beat him.
I do too, and I think that after many decades of always having Ray Robinson number one, because I had to listen to all the other experts while I was learning. I just think that a lot of experts saw Ray Robinson, plus he had the resume to back it up. They saw that the perfect fighting machine. If you were going to mold somebody who had the perfect jab, well, then he had the perfect jab. Perfect.
But we were able to see Robinson. All we can go by with Harry Greb are newspaper accounts, and they could be tainted too, whether it's positive or negative. But I think if you just forget about all of that, head-to-head resumes and who they fought, and the Hall of Famers, like I said, I think you got to give the edge to Harry Greb.
The important thing is that we've always talked about, when you just said Hall of Famers, that basically it is the hallmark of what we're talking about, because the people we're talking about are all great champions. They're all amazing champions. So how do you peel back an onion? You have to figure out, and the most important, in our opinion, as well as many others, is who are the people that they fought? Were they Hall of Famers? How many Hall of Famers? And were they in their prime? When did they fight them? Everyone knows that Rocky Marciano does not get the credit for knocking out Joe Louis.
Yeah,
he fought Joe Louis. He fought Joe Louis 4 or 5 years after Joe was well beyond his prime. But he still has it on his resume. But he doesn't get the credit, and that's not Rocky's fault. Rocky Marciano just had bad timing. He ended up fighting guys that were just old because they happened to be old at the time. Not his fault. But Harry fought everybody. His resume is so complete, and did a lot of it, as we all know, blind in one eye for 3 or 4 years of his prime, which is,
I don't understand.
Extraordinary.
That's what I think of all the things about Harry Greb. I think that's what blows me away the most. His peripheral vision was gone. How do you see a punch coming at you So the only way he could react was his speed and his awkward way of boxing.
Right.
And he overcame it. I mean, that's a heck of a thing to overcome.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And again, in the history of the sport, if you look at even in the last 20 years of boxing, the one gentleman that was probably the greatest of the last 20 years, sorry, Floyd Mayweather, but Manny Pacquiao had that same
Yes.
awkward style. Like there
Right.
are greats like Mayweather that had the great stand-up boxing
Exactly.
defense and whatnot, but Pacquiao was all over the place. That's what made him successful. And that's what's the same argument that we all have, you and myself, regarding Harry Greb, and his style would be very, very difficult to figure out. Mickey Walker, great welterweight and middleweight champion, one of the greatest of all times, said during one of his the fight that he had with Harry that he was fighting him, and then all of a sudden he was behind him. He didn't know how he got behind him.
Yeah.
That is a fight I want to see.
Amazing. And if you look at, I think the only film we have of Harry is the training film. If you look at that, you can kind of see he does seem. I mean, when he's hitting the bag and everything, I mean, he's right on target. But when you see him, the way he moves and the way he swings, he's just awkward. He's just very, very awkward. And I think that, well, to his credit, that's why no one could beat him. I mean, he was just awkward. They couldn't predict what he was going to do. Like you said, He was behind them. He was next to them. He was beside them. So, like I said, unfortunately, that's the only film we have is the training film. I would have loved to have seen him in the ring. Oh, it would have just been amazing.
The thing about it too is that people, they talk about modern day boxers, Terrence Crawford being one of them that was so adaptable in the ring. Mm-hmm. He doesn't watch film of his opponents. He learns in the first couple rounds and then adapts. And Terrence Crawford is a brilliant fighter that way. And there are boxers throughout history that have been able to do that. I don't know if anyone's been ever better than Harry Greb at doing that. Not just with the eye injury, but everything else that came his way. I mean, adaptability. Wow. He had to adapt to the rules too.
That's what makes the greatest sports legends are people that can adapt. And I think that's the greatest asset you can have, because you can go in there with your mind how you're going to perform, and the guy throws you a curve and you don't know how to react. It's adaptability, definitely positively adaptability.
Right. And nothing like having your eye poked out practically in a boxing match. Back in the day, it was common fodder for fouls to happen. Harry was known as, I don't think it's fair that he was known as a dirty fighter. He was a guy that just wouldn't take any crap from anybody if someone did it to him. So he and Kid Norfolk, for those who are watching, Kid Norfolk was the fighter that supposedly injured him in a match in Pittsburgh, in 1921, in around there, and it forever changed the way that Harry fought. But at the same time, nobody knew, and he and his team, a very small amount of people, actually knew that he was quickly and losing sight in his right eye, and then it was said at the end that he was fighting. He could barely determine if you're a male or a female, other than if you're wearing perfume.
Wow,
it's pretty sad.
I never heard that before. But
yeah, that's
what you said. It's adaptability. Look how he adapted to being blind in one eye, and they say, from what I've read, the other eye wasn't the greatest either.
No,
so
it wasn't.
He was. That's pretty incredible. That's pretty incredible.
It is. It's one of the most amazing athletic feats in history of professional sports, really, to be able to do that at that high level, and the other, again, the adaptability also of the fact that because of his reputation and whether it was warranted or not, there were a lot of fights, some of the bigger fights with Johnny Wilson, about his tactics. So a lot of times he couldn't use the same tactics that he could in one fight with another, because he was supposedly being looked at very closely by the referees and whatnot.
Exactly.
Another example of him being able to rein in. I wouldn't say his temper so much as don't dare punch me below the belt because I'll do it right back to you.
You're gonna get it back tenfold.
Right, and everything that I've ever read about Harry Greb was he wasn't the initiator generally. It was always like, hey, don't do that, or I'll do it back, until the referee said no more.
No more.
So yeah, yeah. So it is interesting because again, this conversation about the great Harry Greb is going all around the world, and has been for a long time since Jim Jacobs. You know the story of Jim Jacobs and him searching for all the lost films for all those years. Could you imagine if Jim Jacobs, with his
Yes.
his connections, what he would have been able to do today? I'm in a position, Ross, where I don't really have a social media presence. I was in a car accident, and so never got into the social media. So
Okay.
I'm looking for people like yourself and other people that are interested in the story to get it out there. But could you imagine if somebody like Jim Jacobs, who already had the knowledge and had the people behind him, like Mike Tyson, what he would have been able to do to
Yes.
find the films, it would have been a lot
What
easier
you're
for him
doing
today.
is incredible. What you're doing is incredible. I mean, trying to put it together. Put together a screenplay, trying to get a movie together. I mean, that's just absolutely awesome. I mean, it doesn't get better than that.
Well, the
And
thing,
we're all rooting for you, believe.
well, thanks. I appreciate that. And again, I've been in the business for 40 years, sports television. So I always
Okay.
knew that there was a story out there that people forgot, and this is how the reason why I've done this was when I was in my car accident. I saw that other boxing movies were getting Oscars, and I said every time there was an announcement of a new movie, I went, that one's going to get an Oscar, and they don't know about this guy, and that's how it
Yeah.
started. And I've been telling people because it's such a funny story that I literally, this idiot from Belleville, Ontario, Canada, trying to survive a head-on car crash, made a joke and a bet to win an Oscar. And the amount of people that have laughed in my face, the amount of people, and then they read it. They read the script. I am not a world-renowned writer, but if I can get the attention of a Star Wars producer that loved the script,
Mhm.
if you read this quote on the crawl below, is from a critic reading the script. It's been vetted by 5 or 6 people in the business, but to get it to the right people is a different story.
I
A
agree.
lot of things tripped along the way, but I know that the story along is solid, and you know it's solid. Everybody that knows the actual
Absolutely.
story, it knows how solid it is. I think this one has a little bit of a twist to the end because I've always believed that what makes him so unique as a story is he has significance today in 2025.
Yes.
Cinderella Man did not, other than the name
Mhm.
Cinderella Man, and you can use that as a colloquialism, which is great, as the Cinderella Man underdog. But Harry Greb has significance today because his missing films.
Right.
His missing films could change history.
Oh,
They could.
absolutely.
And there's so many people that could. We talk about the importance of the Mickey Mantle rookie card. Great.
Yes.
Everyone wants a Mickey Mantle rookie card, but this is more important than a Mickey Mantle rookie card. And we
Oh,
understand how important the Mickey Mantle rookie card is. But this is even more important because it could change history.
well,
And what do you think about that?
Harry's life, if you look at it, it's got love, it's got tragedy. He lost his wife. I mean, he died on the operating table basically, well, the next day. I mean, it's got the elements of a great film. It really does. His whole story.
Yeah,
And like I said, that with his wife, I mean, that's a tragedy. I mean, that she was
it
so
really
young,
is.
23 or 24 years old. I
Yeah,
mean, that's just unbelievable. And from what I've read, and what is his great granddaughter is on the Facebook page. I mean, he
yeah,
was madly in love with her. When
right.
she passed, he lost a lot.
Yeah, yeah. It's and he leaves with she leaves the world with a beautiful daughter that he's raising by himself and
Yes.
his family and his sister. It does. It has every single element. And on top of that, the treasure hunt to find his films that would
Yeah.
make it such a cherry on top for his
Oh boy.
family. Could you imagine that? His family
I
getting
agree.
those films?
Well, I've been looking in a lot of old newspaper articles here, and every specifically things that come up about Harry Greb's, memorabilia. And
Right.
I'm seeing estate sale, large photo of Harry, signed autograph of Harry Greb. So there's things that are out there, and you're not going to know until maybe somebody passes away and they open the trunk up and they say, "What's this? What's that?" And like we said, most people don't know who Harry Greb is, so they wouldn't know
Right.
that it had any value at all.
Right. It's a story that transcends sports.
Yes,
It really does
big time.
because it doesn't matter that he's a boxer in a lot of ways. Although in the boxing world and sporting world, he should be the hero that he is in certain circles. The squared circle. That's it. It should be a
Yes,
bigger circle, right? And
I
that's what
agree.
we're trying to do here. Now, I'll tell you the I have what I found was so ridiculous in my opinion because I had so much great traction with people in the business on the script that we couldn't get it to the next level that I came up with the idea. Now this is to me I thought it was silly that I'd have to write a book about trying to sell a script. So I wrote a book called Oscar Am I a Wiener? And it's the story of me trying to sell the idea to different people in Hollywood. And I have gotten my door slammed on my face many times. But when you get somebody like somebody from Star Wars and Raiders of the Lost Ark, he was like a top guy, knowing that, I'm very confident. I'm very confident that we just have to get it into the right hands. So I have the person that we're targeting. Okay.
Good.
So Mark Cuban.
Okay.
And here's why. Well, because when I first started this whole journey, it was because Mark Wahlberg was doing the movie The Fighter. And the
Right.
reason why he did the movie The Fighter about Mickey Ward was because of the heart tug. He lived
Mhm.
near Mickey Ward. He grew up
Yes.
watching him. There was a heart tug. So I went, who's from Pittsburgh that we could get a heart tug for Harry Greb's story?
Yes.
One of the guys was Mark Cuban. Well, I have a history with Mark Cuban. I'm just going to tell you this story. I think it's hilarious. And it should be, if anyone's listening and or anyone from Pittsburgh hears the story, oh my goodness. Okay, so in about 2002 or 2003, if you look it up, you'd be able to find the exact date, the date that Mark Cuban bought HD TV. So this was
Okay.
HD. No one had heard of HD before because it was new. I did because I was in the business selling TV series. I had a TV series, my soccer TV series that I was selling around the world. And I
Okay.
was promising everybody around the world, all networks around the world, that everything we shot in the future was going to be HD. No one knew what HD was other than high definition. There were no cameras, there were no nothing. But Mark Cuban bought the network. He saw ahead of time how smart this was. So I
Interesting.
went, So I saw him being interviewed, and it was like a 20 or 60 minutes, one of those sit down interviews. This was years, as you know, before Shark Tank or he had just
Anything. Yeah.
he bought Dallas Mavericks. That's how I
Yes.
knew him. I'm a basketball
Right.
nut. I knew him from that. I knew he was a billionaire, and he's being interviewed. And the guy that was interviewing, a very well-known guy, said, "It says here in my notes that you respond to every email. That can't be true. You cannot. You don't have time." He says, "No, I do. I respond to every single email. I
Wow.
always have." And the guy goes, "How is that possible?" Mark Cuban says, "No one has my email. Find it, find my email, I'll respond." So this was 2002. I don't know how long I spent, but I spent a couple hours, several hours. I found his email, and once I found his email, what I thought was his email, I spent about 4 hours crafting this email to him. Now, I wasn't selling him Harry Greb. It had nothing to do with that. It was a soccer series and soccer sport that I had come up with. Now, get this. So, soccer, you've seen guys do juggling in soccer? It's called freestyle soccer. They put it on their head. They do all these tricks. It was part of the
Yes.
show that I did for 8 seasons. It was called Freestyle Soccer Zone. And I wanted
Okay.
to, instead of it just being keep ups, like I wanted
Mhm.
it to be a sport. Get it on stage, have judges,
Okay.
do it to
Yeah.
music, put it to hip hop music, have cool things. So
Okay.
that was our that was the idea. The Freestyle Soccer World Championship on a stage instead of just keep ups. So I crafted this email. It took me 4 hours. I went, it can't be too long, can't be short. It's got to be perfect, right? Because he only has amount. It's Mark Cuban.
Right.
So I pressed send, going, who knows? I had a video along with it. I had a 3-page write up if you wanted to read it. But this was the thing that was going to lure him in. The greatest idea ever, Mark Cuban. About 10 minutes later, I get a response.
Really?
Oh, it was 10 minutes. And I'm looking at my computer screen going, there's no way this is true. I opened it up, and this is what it said. Dear Scott, thank you very much for your email. I appreciate the time. However, you don't understand. Nobody on this earth hates soccer more than me. In fact, I hate soccer so much. And he went on about a 2-line hate,
Wow.
and said, and then, yeah, it was like, oh boy, this guy hates soccer. He goes, but thank you very much for your time and your email. Mark Cuban.
Wow.
I went, oh my God.
That's
So
amazing.
I responded, so we have a deal. Can I talk to my lawyer? Send. He responded immediately with, don't ever. No, it was, ha ha, don't ever email me again. Have a great day. Have a great day. And I just went, oh my God, that's the funniest email I've
That's
ever.
wow. That's
And
wow.
then, then he became, he was already a billionaire, but then he became quite famous after that. And get this, part of the reason why I thought that was the greatest idea was that soccer was like rising. So I gave him all these statistics about how many people played, the money generated, and all that kind of thing, because it was all about
Yes.
money with him. He didn't care. It didn't matter what the principle is. I hated it, which is fine. I had no problem with him hating it.
Right.
But I think now that I wrote the script and I thought, oh shit, he is from Pittsburgh, right? I
Right.
wonder 20 years later if he would, well, first of all, he probably would remember, maybe. Would he remember the email? Would he, if approached, would he think that it was a bad investment deal or a good investment deal? Because back in the day when I contacted him, an MLS franchise was probably worth $15 million, and it's worth almost $1 billion today.
Yes.
So financially, he's the kind of guy that it probably wouldn't matter. Just my guess, because of his personality. He hated soccer. I don't care how much money I'd make. I hated it. Or I made a real big mistake. Well, Mark, if you're watching, don't make a second mistake. Come on, win an Oscar with us.
There you go. And I live in Scott Township, which is like parallel to Mount Lebanon, where Mark Cuban grew up. That's where he lived. He went to Mount Lebanon High School. So maybe, like I said, I think I posted that. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe there's a connection here. Maybe a little karma. Maybe you can get him involved. That would be great. That would be great. But I think this other thing. I think I don't know if you saw it. I posted about the Pittsburgh Walk of Stars, Walk of Fame in Pittsburgh.
No,
they're in it's called the Strip District in downtown Pittsburgh, and they picked 10 people to put these big bronze stars, inlaid them in the sidewalk. I guess like Grauman's Theater in California. But they picked 10 people. I think one was George Benson. I can't think who else was on there. But they have 10 people that they picked this year. Well, starting in November or in January, they're going to have nominations for 2026. So I'm going to fire it all up with emails and background for Harry Greb, and hopefully he gets a star there, and that may be a start of people saying, well, who the hell's Harry Greb? Who is it? So I'm hopeful that comes into fruition. We're trying to name a bridge after Harry Greb, that in Pittsburgh, I mean, we're trying everything to try to get his name out there.
It's about time, eh?
Oh, absolutely. It's about time. Way
Now,
overdue.
so the place where the Pittsburgh Penguins play,
Yes.
is that is it the Civic Center?
Yeah, it was the old Civic Arena. It was the old
Right.
Civic Arena.
So I was there covering in the same time, 2002. I was there for a
Okay.
game when Lemieux played, and there was a plaque there. There was it was a Hall of Fame of some sort in that arena, and Harry was
Okay.
up there. His plaque was up there as one of the
Harry
guys in the Hall of
Greb?
Fame. Yeah,
Really?
yeah,
I
and
have
that
been
was
to
in
the
two.
arena multiple times for hockey games. I don't know. I never saw it.
Okay, well then, is the arena still there?
No, it's gone. It's
Right,
gone.
that's an old one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
No,
gone.
I do remember it because uh, I was still I knew him very well, like, but I wasn't obsessed with
Wow.
him as much as I
Interesting.
was after the fact. But no, he was there along with like all the Pittsburgh greats, right? Other sports, but it was like, oh my, they know
Interesting.
him. Yeah.
Interesting.
So,
Well, I
but
know
it wasn't.
Harry's in the Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame, for boxing.
Right.
But those are kind of like, I don't want, unless you're a boxing fan, you're not going to go to the, Boxing Hall of Fame. You're not going to look at it. It's got to be something that the general public's going to view. Other than
Yeah.
that, he's still going to be obscure, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be something else if one of his films were found, indeed found.
Oh, that would be, well, they say the Holy Grail. That's what it would be.
Right, right. No, there's no questioning that. If you were to sit down and watch with some popcorn and a beer, which fight would you want to see with Harry?
I think the first Tunney fight. I
Oh,
think that would have been just to
yeah.
see Harry stepping up to light heavyweight and to see what he did in that. I mean, from what I understand, it was like a meat grinder. But I think I still would have enjoyed watching him because look at the size difference. Because I had a picture, I compared Tunney's fist to Harry Greb's fist. It was almost twice as big. I
Really,
mean, he was a big man, and Harry pulverized him, literally pulverized.
That
And
would
I
have
think
been
a couple of the other fights that they gave, the second, I think the second, maybe the third fight they gave to Tunney, and they said the crowd was just outraged because Greb held his own. He did well, but they gave it to, like I said, he was the fair-haired boy. They gave it to Tunney.
yeah. Yeah, and even the Tiger Flowers fights, those bother me when I read about them because both of those fights were really close, and
Yes.
generally the middleweight champion or any champion usually retains the championship, gets the nod. I also respect the way that Harry took the losses.
Yes.
You didn't hear him bitching about it. You heard him. You heard him praising his opponent, which to me is like, I mean, I guess stories were that he praised them and then he cried in the locker room afterwards. It showed you how much it actually really meant to him, right? So
absolutely.
I mean, what if he didn't die on that operating table? I mean,
well, I think at that point, an article I read, it was in the Pittsburgh paper. He was going to open a gym in Pittsburgh. I think he was looking at he was going to retire. That he was. Because he knew Dempsey wasn't going to give him a fight. He knew that. So I guess he was going to retire.
And he was seen at the first Dempsey Tunney fight with an eye patch.
Yes.
And it was believed that his eye had been already operated on. No one knew that he had a glass eye at that point.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So
I mean,
so he knew.
It's a real shame, to have a loss like that at such a young age. And he was vibrant. He was, he would have did so much for the city of Pittsburgh, which in a lot of articles that I read he did. He did a lot of community work. He did a
Yeah.
lot for the Newsboys. He did a
Yes.
lot of good things that you really don't hear a lot about. But I think if he would have survived that operation, he would have been 10 times bigger in Pittsburgh. 10 times
Yeah, that's
bigger.
true. Yeah. Yeah. It's just, I guess a lot of it is timing, but boy, oh boy, I would
Yes.
have thought that usually when you die tragically like that, like Elvis Presley and every other star that died tragically at a young age, their fame went through the roof.
Yes. Yes.
Harry's
Yes.
didn't,
Yes.
and that's unfortunate because he deserved that.
I
And
agree.
I
Well, there
also
was.
think that
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
no,
Excuse
I
me.
was just going to think that based on talking with guys like yourself, guys in the UK, there are people all over the world want to talk about this particular subject matter. He matters right now. It's not like
Yes.
he hasn't completely disappeared, and part of it is the luck that we have as being able to interface with each other across the world by talking about him and getting people to know. It's again, if Jim Jacobs had this ability, where would we be with Harry Greb?
Oh, for sure. Well, I read an article also I think it was the 20s that they wanted to erect I think it was after Harry had passed. They wanted to erect a statue to Harry Greb. City Council passed, said yes, they'd do it. Then they opened it up for discussion. They were turning it over, excuse me, to the Arts Commission. And then somebody stood up and said, well, we would give the statue to him based on his military service, but we don't feel that a boxer, that there should be a statue erected to a boxer. And it just kind of went by the wayside. Nothing ever happened because of it. But,
Right.
but of course that was the 20s and we're into the
Sure.
2000s. So, it's a different world out there today.
Well, we definitely need somebody to back that up, and we already mentioned a couple people that could do that.
We're
But
open.
that's the beauty of it is it's a strong story. There's
Absolutely. Well, your movie's going to put it on top. Your movie is going to put it out there for the whole
Yeah,
world to see. And then
absolutely.
what's going to happen? Then the interest is just going to skyrocket. Then people are going
Abs-
to get really interested, and I think it's going to embarrass a lot of these, a lot of politicians that don't want to get involved. It's going to embarrass them into doing something because
yeah,
he was one of the greatest sports heroes in Pittsburgh. He was a Pittsburgh boy. I mean,
right,
he was the greatest Pittsburgh sports hero ever.
right. Yeah,
So,
who can come close? I mean, and there have been a lot, right? I mean, there have been
yeah,
a lot in
absolutely.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have, Mario Lemieux, Sidney Crosby, Roberto
Yeah,
Clemente. I mean, Willie Starr. You have a lot of superstars that played in Pittsburgh. But
for sure.
where's Harry Greb? Where is he? He should be here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I would put him definitely on top of all those. And me being a true Canadian hockey guy with Mario Lemieux and boy, oh boy, Sid the Kid.
Oh,
The city of Pittsburgh should be proud of all their sports heroes. There are a
oh, for
ton of
sure.
them.
I mean,
Yeah,
I can't believe I got to watch Mario Lemieux, Sidney Crosby, Yager. I
yeah,
mean, I
yeah,
got to watch them. I mean, that's in one lifetime. Nobody gets that. I mean, these
right.
are the true superstars of the sport. And
That's
I was
true.
fortunate enough to be able to go to watch them. I mean, it's just fantastic. And still, watching Sidney Crosby now is just amazing, amazing.
It is. Yeah, he's no longer a kid, but boy, oh boy, he's got quite a. I mean, I don't know even how many years he's been in the league. Almost
21
20,
years.
21.
Crosby, Malkin, and Letang have played together for 21 years
Wow,
in Pittsburgh. That's pretty amazing. That's
that's a
pretty
lot of
amazing.
points.
Oh,
That's
for
a lot of
sure. Oh,
points.
yeah, for sure. And you got to remember, Crosby was out for a year with a broken jaw. He
Right.
missed a whole year. He missed a whole season. But
Yep.
like I said, I think Harry needs the recognition that these superstars have now, and it's well deserved. It really is well deserved.
No, there's no question he is at the top echelon of the sport of boxing as well as the sport or any sportsman in Pittsburgh and or the eastern coast of the United States. And is would you think that if we're going to find the fight films, is that where people think that they're could be Pittsburgh based because he's from there. Does that make sense that the fight films could be in that area? Or
I think a little bit maybe, but what I really think is it might be something that maybe a Tunning family member, one of the fights with Tunning, or buried somewhere like that. Pittsburgh, I don't know, maybe it's a possibility. You always wish, you're always wishing, but if that would turn up anywhere, I don't care if it was in hell. If it would turn up, it would be fantastic.
Oh, absolutely. It's funny you mentioned that about one of the family members, Larry Merchant from HBO, the legendary broadcaster. When I approached him about it, he was fascinated what we were doing, and he said, "Talk to the Tiger Flowers family."
There you go. There you go. That's
now
where
there
I think
is
the chances of finding it are going to be with somebody that he boxed, especially Flowers, since Flowers beat him. And they said his family was at the fight, from what I've read. So, there's a possibility maybe they do have the film.
Well, I'll go further that there was a documentary proposed about Tiger Flowers' life and his boxing life called The Georgian Deacon. And apparently one of the Greb fights were supposed to be in the documentary, and it went missing. Now, somebody else online mentioned that that it was a proposal and the documentary may not have been done, but I read differently. And guys like Steve Compton, Steve Compton, who does more research than I would ever do, I think he would have a way better idea about that. But there are stories out there that we just don't know. So it's part of the mystery and part of the intrigue, I guess, in trying to find anything out there just to prove it, that what we've always believed is he's the greatest of all time. And
well, the hunt's always the most exciting. So,
for sure.
I think there's enough people out there that are hunting for that film or anything close to it.
Sure. Yeah, it's true. It's a never-ending, hopefully ending soon when we find it, and then be able to unequivocally say that he's the greatest of all time. And in the meantime, continue the chat about who is the greatest, our old fighters or new fighters. It's a debate we always have, and I know that you're not a huge fight fan of today, but no. I do have a trivia before we leave. I'm gonna get. Let's see if we can get this without breaking it. Our John L. Sullivan statue, and inside,
little scotch in there.
There's
okay.
Pull the trivia out of his butt. Sorry, John L. We know what the L stands for. Okay. Who wins and how? Harry Greb versus Sugar Ray Leonard. Who wins and how? Ooh, that's a tough one. A little bit above weight classes for
I would
Sugar
say Ray. Definitely Greb, but by a slim margin. Because Greb's speed, his ability in the ring, his footwork. Obviously, he wasn't a solid puncher, but I think against Leonard, I would give him a slight edge over Leonard. I think he would beat him. Actually, I think Harry Greb could have beat anybody. He would have whooped Dempsey's butt. So there you go. There's a middleweight fighting a heavyweight. And how many heavyweights did he? I would give the edge to Harry Greb for sure.
There you go. That's fantastic. So would I. I mean, and we're always talking because Ray Leonard was more of a welterweight than a middleweight. We're talking about pound for pound here. So we would give that an edge there. But in the same breath, yes, Harry's unorthodox style for me. There's nobody that I could see beat Harry Greb.
I don't
in their prime.
I don't either.
But it is a great matchup. I would love to see
it would be,
Sugar Ray Leonard.
Super matchup for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. I do consider Sugar Ray.
Duran would have been a great fight.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some fantastic modern day fighters that would do very well against Harry Greb. Just wouldn't beat him, but would do very well. And they're all and again, modern day fighters are great too. But we like to split hairs by just giving every single detail possible and continue and start a debate. Why not? Because we believe, again, the big guy from Pittsburgh, the windmill, is the greatest. And we really appreciate, Ross, you're spending the afternoon with us talking about the love of Harry Greb. I appreciate your time.
Hey, thank you for all of this. And I hope that enough people get to see it and get interested in reading about Harry Greb.
Absolutely. That's the
Thank
whole
you,
point.
Scott.
Was to
Thanks
get
for
people.
everything, and thanks for your help. And good luck on the movie, because I know it's going to be a hit. It's definitely going to be a hit.
Yeah, we
So
can't.
we
We
did
can't
that.
wait.
The Walk of Fame in Hollywood, and you're standing next to me. I'll be smiling.
That would be fantastic. I cannot wait for that. The whole group of us. Let's
All
do
right,
it.
buddy.
All
Thank you
right.
for everything. I
Hey,
appreciate it.
listen, I really appreciate your time, Ross. It's been a pleasure talking to you, learning a little bit more about how to properly speak Pittsburghese. I appreciate it.
I'll send you some information.
Thank you.
All
Cheers.
right, buddy.
Talk soon.
Have a
All right. Thank you, Ross. I really appreciate that. It was great chatting with somebody that knows more about the Pittsburgh area and the great athletes, including, of course, the great Harry Greb. And this is a constant look and a constant conversation about the great Harry Greb, where his fight films went. Do you have a possible solution as to where we could find? Like and subscribe and give a comment, because we would love to hear from you about how we can do this better, how we can find more people and treasure hunters and people that know a little bit more about history than even we do, because we're always learning about the greatest fighter of all time. So that's it for this week's show. Thanks again for Ross from Pittsburgh. It's amazing chatting with him, and we'll see you next time on the search for Harry Greb and his missing fight films. See you next time.